small pane, in fact. And so again, it's a different colour scheme. Walls at the moment are red and gold.
Right.
This is gold and red. So reverse the colour scheme that you get impressed upon you, and suddenly you've got something that's very light, very vibrant. Just see if I can get these tubes going.
I'm losing track. We're now on the 3rd floor, aren't we?
Yeah, now on the 3rd floor. Yeah, these are original. Lovely little leaded lights and then etched glass on the main panels. And probably the black writing is, I would think, secondary, but I'm not sure.
Right.
But when it says private service room, what it's actually referring to, in fact, is the service lift, which is behind yon panel, and then the main passenger lifts are in here. There are 2 passenger lifts in there.
Right.
Hydraulically driven. The hydraulic power being provided by a wonderful company that's actually only closed for the last 20 years, called the London Hydraulic Company, and provided hydraulic power to all sort of ring around central London. And now, in fact, all their pipeworks are now being used by Mercury to run their cables through.
Are the lifts themselves still in there?
The lift boxes are still there, yes.
Right.
In that one, they're actually down in the basement. They're still there, yes. Again, produced by a firm called Wayburn and Otis. Otis is probably the famous name of the party, that they were the company that produced all the first serious attempts to put lifts in all of the big hotels in San Francisco and New York. And we've got, again, lifts we've got a Wayburn Otis. The only reason I have Wayburn Otis is because when they were electrified, the company became known as Wayburn Otis, and we've got the electric motors still from the turn of the century down in the basement.
Sorry, thank you. The lifts date from the original?
The lift boxes probably are original. The actual electrical drive units are probably turn of the century thereabouts.
Right.
Interestingly, again, the Wayburn, the Otis company have a museum of lifts that they produced, and the curator was coming into this country anyway, and was asked to come and look at our Wayburn Otis lifts, because she was that sort of keen. When she arrived, she said, "You haven't got Wayburn Otis lifts," to which we said, "Yes, we have." And she said, "We have no record of these lifts at all." "You have Armstrong lifts," she said. And we said, "Yes, we never have Armstrong lifts. He was the name of the person who provided them." He was merely the person who bought them on behalf of them. And they've always been known as Armstrong lifts, but in fact they're Wayburn Otis lifts. And the only reason anybody had actually said they were Wayburn Otis is one of us, I can't remember whether it was me or not, went down into the lift office and actually looked at what was written on the bits of metal.
What a glamorous job.
But that's what archaeology is all about. Yeah. In a sense, it's not just digging holes in the ground, it's a sort of perception of life and observation. If you don't look and you don't see anything. This is an item which shows what we had to do to the roof to get it back into reasonable order. The sort of the nature of work that was required. We had to replace, I think, about 80% of the entire wall plate right the way around the building. Because it's all just rotted, and it shows how, in a sense, the backs of the slates, the kind of damage that had been caused by, I'm afraid to say, just lack of maintenance.
I presume ultimately, give it another half century, that the whole roof would have just gone, just caved in.
Well, we first came here, when it rained, it was like being in a shower bath on the 5th floor.
God.
It was that bad. And VR were totally confident. There was no question about that. They just gave up and didn't bother. And the terrible thing about it is now is that LCR do exactly the same again. They are playing at keeping an eye on it. It's very annoying indeed.
When we're getting around to these floors, this is now just visitors' accommodation, hotel rooms.
It's probably, again, one of the big misconceptions about the building is that it's obviously initially known as the Midland Grand Hotel. Now, the original design brief that was asked for by the Midland Railways management team was for a building that would cloak the end of the train shed and act as their headquarters building. They were going to move their headquarters staff from Derby to London. Now, obviously, as that design brief went on, and they ran this competition in 1865, they changed what they wanted, and it became a hotel. But the bit that people don't get is that it would also have office facilities here.
Right.
And the offices they ran here were the Midland Railways Hotels division. So that there was always an office component here. This is 5th floor. Well, I think it speaks for itself, 5th floor. It is the most odd floor in the building.
Right.
In that the 4th floor is dark, dingy and small, and then you suddenly walk up into this sort of palace up here. And this is probably where all the hotel working, living-in servants would have lived. and any travelling servants that would come with the people who were staying in the building.
Right. Curious, actually, that the staff at a hotel should be in such relative opulence.
Well, this is it. This is the oddity about it. But again, and you get odd little rooms, and you get this little one. Right now, the reason they're this odd shape is they're actually immediately above the grand stairs ceiling. So you've got this raised effect as you come over the top of the arches of the grand stairs.
Right. Would you be willing to tell me anything about the stories connected to the fifth floor?
There aren't many, to be honest, in the sense that the ones we've picked up have come from... we had Lucinda Lampton did a programme here, which was part of the One Foot in the Past series. And One Foot in the Past, actually, when they started that series, their launch programme, their launch was here. We held it here for them.
Right.
And when she arrived at the party, she's got an awful old crony she knows called Dan Cruikshank, who's a wonderful bloke actually, he's a very keen conservationist and architect type person who I've known for years and years and years. And he came and said, oh, hello, I mean, Lucinda Lampton and he used to have once upon a time had a raging affair. And they'd get all right. She came racing over and said, oh, is it lovely to have around this building? I haven't been around this building, I want to get a look at it and everything. And then she told us that she's actually still looking for 2 final programmes in the 5 that she had to do.
Right.
And she said, oh, she was looking for, I can't remember, she was My Heroes was the topic she was using. And I said, well, does it have to be a person? And she said, well, yes, it does. And I said, no, this building is a hero. It has survived the attentions of BR for the last how long. And she liked that idea, and she did a programme here. And that was the one that was, I think, the 3rd in the series. I can't remember what it was anyway. And at the end of the whole programme, I managed, purely by, I don't know what it was, they just took a liking, or Lucinda was being particularly persuasive, but they actually put out an advert for information and interest.
Right.
And people wrote back to me, since my name was put forward for it. And as a result of that, we must have had, I think, upwards of about 100 replies at least, of which a large percentage were from people who'd worked in the building.
Right.
And the interesting thing was they'd worked in the building when it was still a hotel, so it was pre-1935. And so a number of the stories that have come from people who worked in the building in the sort of probably